Good morning. As a library monitor who arrives first thing in the morning, you are responsible for the opening procedures that are required to make sure that everything is done for the day's service. So the first thing you'll do when you come in, every time you come in, is to sign into the sign-in book here so that you get your credit. Once you've put your backpack either under the table or somewhere at the counter underneath a shelf so you do not trip on it, or that no one trips on it, you'll then refer to the green piece of paper that's posted at the student desk here. This is the library monitor bulletin board, so this is always posted here. There's a green sheet of paper that goes through all of the opening procedures. Feel free to take this off the hook and take a look and see what has to be done. Since I've done the opening procedures so many times, I will just leave this on the hook so I have a free hand in showing you what needs to be done. So the first thing you should do is double check that Ms. Bombino, the teacher librarian, has put the circulation computer on the Horizon program. Second thing you should check is that she has taken out the coin box for the print jobs. This is the coin box that you're going to use to make change when people pay for their print jobs. You should also double check that at the circ desk there is the tray of mice at the station here. So that is not there right now, so we'll have to retrieve that from Ms. Bombino's office. So if you go into the office, I may not be able to maneuver it and the camera at the same time, but this tray of mice is on the second shelf of the phone desk. So when you pick this up, and I'm just going to leave it here, but I will move it out later, this tray of mice ends up at the circulation desk. At the spot where it says mice. If that's done, then you move on to the calendars. There is a wall calendar here that needs to be flipped over to the correct date and then hung up again. And I'm hoping that I can maneuver it. I guess I can't, but the date calendar, apologies for not handling the camera steady. That gets hooked up. Then there is the calendar on the wall that's a magnetic calendar. Just shift the little magnets over to the correct date. And then if we make our way to the sign-in desk, there is a binder where the students all sign in. You're going to flip over the page to a blank new page for the day, and you're going to write in the day. So today is a day 2, and it's Friday, October the 10th. And you leave it there so that students can sign in. Now for fun, I have a perpetual calendar here that's a National Geographic photo picture calendar. So when you flip it over, if you want to have a little bit of information, basically we are traveling to Africa, and there is a picture for the day that you might be interested in. Now you're at the student sign-in books. This is for students who come in on their study blocks, not for library monitors. If you double check on the wall here, there's also a student bulletin. Make sure that it is the daily bulletin for today. If everything's correct, you're going to move off to the next stage. Next stage will be to turn on the photocopier and check for paper supply. So the power button's on the side, just turn it on and leave it gurgling. If you go over to the printer over here, same thing has to be done. You have to make sure that the printer's turned on. And in addition to all the printing, you also have to turn on all the computers, both the CPUs and the monitors, so that they are started up for the day. That includes all of the computers in this library space, including the webcat stations. The 2 webcat stations, the CPU button is down below. Just press it on. And make sure that the monitors are on. And you're going to come back in a few minutes to double check that these have actually opened up to the webcat station. So while all the computers, we're going to assume that I've turned on all the computers in the library, as well as the computer in the lab, the computers in the lab. There are a lot of them. And you'll notice that the lights are off in the lab. We have a specialized key that looks like a little skeleton key. And what you're ending up doing with this, there's really no way of describing other than to show you. You put it at an angle, diagonal down, and you push up. Diagonal down and push up. And that turns on the lights in the lab. But again, library monitors would be responsible for making sure that all of the computers are turned on, that the keyboards are on top of the CPUs, and that there is no messy leftover stuff from yesterday. So once you've turned on the computers, We mentioned the photocopy. You're going to double check that it's all right. What you're also responsible for is opening up the drawers to make sure there's a good paper supply. That's both the top tray, which is for 8.5 by 11, and the 14-inch paper on the bottom. Same thing with the printer. When I had turned it on, what I should have done is to make sure that there was enough paper in it. So when you pull out the little drawers, make sure there's enough paper, just fan through. If it looks like it's a decent collection, that's fine. If you still need paper, make sure that, I'll show you where you can find that. Make sure also that this drawer is shut after you've loaded it up, because if it isn't put into place correctly, people can't print. So the paper supply, if you're out of paper, you'll come around at the circ desk, and if you remember the binder where you signed in, on the shelf underneath the counter there's 8.5 by 11-inch paper, the letter size paper, and then the legal size paper. So that's where you get your paper supply. And if there's no paper supply there, there is a filing cabinet right next to the drawer, to the table. So if you press the little button, metal button, it'll release the catch and open up. Now we have 2 packages of paper left over in here. When you take the last one, or second to last one actually, tell Ms. Bombino so she can order some new paper. Again, always make sure that you close up the drawer so nobody's going to hurt themselves. And that comes full circle. Now the last thing you have to do is make sure that the newspapers are stamped and put on the tables or on the shelves. So right now we have 2 copies of the 24 newspaper. If they are not here on the table, pick them up from the rack outside. There's an orange stand with all the 24s for today. We usually keep 2 copies of the 24 here. But if you look around, there is no Province or Sun anywhere to be found. That's when you would probably ask Miss Bombino to where they are. If they are not on the table, chances are they may be on her desk, because when she came in, she may have just dumped off her stuff and not put them out where she should have. With the newspapers, if the newspapers aren't on her desk, then you go to the main office and check the letter box or the blue bin in the letter area where the teachers' letter boxes are, and there should be the newspapers. So with the newspapers, you have to stamp them. At the circ desk, there is a stamp and a stamp pad. It's a red stamp pad. So all you have to do is stamp the newspaper somewhere on the front cover where we can actually see that it's not going to cover any information, but that is in fact indicating that it is our newspaper. So it looks like I've got 2 provinces. I've made a mistake in picking it up. This is where we're going to have to go to the office, get the Vancouver Sun from the office tray, and then bring it back. So right now, just let's assume that I had both papers. What you do with the newspaper after you've stamped it is that you bring it over to the rack here, and you put the newspapers on so that you can see the title or the headline. So we still have to go get the Sun in the office, but we will do that after I've filmed this. So as long as the area is nice and tidy, you're ready to go. So I believe we've done everything that we need for the opening procedures. We're going to assume that we have turned on all the computers, and you'll see here that the 2 WebCat stations have in fact gone to WebCat for the students to search. So make sure that those are all set. If you have any problems, just ask Ms. Bombino and she'll reset it. So once everything is open and ready to go, we can then go back to the circ desk, hang up the green piece of paper with the opening procedures, and this is the time where you're going to check the schedule and make sure that you check next to your name the number. So if you are on the number 1 position, the jobs are described on the sign-in book. Number 1 means that you're working the circ desk. Number 2 means that you're shelving. And number 3 means that you're shelf reading. So, and the opening procedures, again, are always posted on this green piece of paper, so you can always double check if you've forgotten something. Okay? So thank you for opening up the library. Last thing that I'm going to do is make sure that the mice are back out on the table for everybody and that the computers are all turned on. But in a nutshell, that is the opening procedures that happens every single day that we open up for service. Thanks for listening.